AJB Live will begin momentarily. AJB Live will begin momentarily. Breaking news from the Stream Center. Here's JB Biunno.
New developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie in Arizona. A TMZ report based on Ring doorbell camera footage in the area, as well as reported discord between the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's investigators. We're going to break it all down, the new developments as it's happening here live from the Stream Center. Good to have you here with us, folks. Back here with our stream team. We've got Josh Scott in the top right, Garrett Phillips there in the bottom right over there as well. I'm JB Biunno here with you in the Stream Center. Garrett, I want to start here. We also have a guest we're going to be getting to here in just a moment. But before we do, the FBI Phoenix tweeted out recently, and we can get to that report off the top here in regards to a potential interference, right?
Yes, we had learned last week during the most recent press conference that both Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI officials held regarding this case, that there was somebody who was arrested and detained for basically sending out imposter ransom notes and trying to profit off of the grieving family, the Guthrie family. FBI Phoenix tweeted out about an hour ago, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office will continue to hold any individual accountable who seeks to interfere with federal investigations or attempts to profit from a grieving family. Derek Colella, 42, of Hawthorne, California, is alleged to have sent ransom demands via 2 text messages to a missing person's family on February 4th, 2026. He also allegedly made a 9-second phone call to a family member. They tweeted that out about 59 minutes ago.
All right. So, and then Josh, there's a report here from TMZ in the last, I would say, hour or so as well. And it's connected to that Ring doorbell camera footage that's been going crazy. People have been going crazy with this on social media, claiming that this could be a person connected to the case. What do you have here?
Yeah, we have a 24-second video from TMZ. Cops saying that they're investigating this new video of a suspicious man near the Guthrie home 1 week before her abduction. And we have that here in the Chrome window, if we're able to pull it up. Yeah, right here. And it's this little 20-second video. This guy, you can see face blurred, just seemingly on the front porch in that front entryway, looking around. And again, they're looking into this. We don't have much past, that report that they are looking into it, but getting there, maybe putting his hand around that Ring doorbell, and that's it. So not nearly as compelling of the footage as we actually have from the Guthrie home, but certainly something to look at that is being investigated right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing about this that I find so interesting is that the potential match, right? Because TMZ blurred the video. You saw it there when we shared Josh's screen. They put a blur effect on the individual's face, but the individual's face in this Ring doorbell camera video is already all over the internet. And we were talking in depth yesterday on stream about facial hair and whether or not this person's facial hair was poking through the mask or not. Well, there clearly is a parallel between that footage that, of course, that we have been dissecting, repeatedly here on stream, but also the footage that isn't blurred that's been making the rounds across the internet. After our stream last night, and we were talking about it extensively yesterday about this relationship, the dynamic between the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department and what that dynamic looks like. And after our stream last night, the reports, it just kind of developed from there. As far as this relationship where there might be some discord between the two agencies, multiple reports and sources speaking out, claiming that the FBI is not being granted all the information and evidence that has been gathered in the case, that the Pima County Sheriff's Department is allegedly withholding certain information, certain evidence in the case. A good opportunity for us to introduce our guest here in the Zoom room. Joining us, a face many of our audience members might recognize, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI agent, as well as host of the Break the Case podcast. Jennifer, it's good to have you on. Thanks for stopping in.
Great to see you.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, what do you make of these reports? Alleged disconnect between local authorities there with the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, you being with the FBI, of course, in your career. Does this surprise you? Do you believe these reports? Why don't we start there?
I think they are blown out of proportion. Basically, this all centers around the two new gloves. Remember, there's 3 gloves at play here. One inside the house, one that we all saw on the side of the road, and then Fox News reported via source that there's another glove as well. So this all stems around where the other 2 new gloves were going to be sent. Right. So we know the other glove and other DNA evidence was sent to the lab in Florida that they normally use, meaning Pima County. So then you have the question, what do you do with the 2 new gloves since the Bureau's been involved? Do you send it to Quantico? This is the problem. You can't do that because all the profiles and all the work that has been done, you would be starting all over, and time is still of the essence. There is no Nancy. So I understand the decision. There was probably some different communication back and forth, but I think it's been blown out of proportion.
So then why the leaks? I mean, Jennifer, we've talked so often about the relationship between law enforcement and the media. Clearly, there is unhappiness that is occurring here, and it's making it out to members of the press that are there on location in Tucson. Why do you think it's occurring?
Well, I don't think it's probably occurring at the level of the people who are really doing the boots on the ground work. Typically, when there's issues like this, it's happening at the higher levels. And remember, and this is the big point I want to make here. Listen, the Bureau is there only at the behest and at the really the sheriff's office saying it's okay to be working on this case. The FBI has 0 jurisdiction. The FBI has no legal parameters to work there except with and for the Pima County Sheriff's Office. At any moment, they can pull the plug on it. So it's very important that everybody play nice in the sandbox. But at the end of the day, the Bureau does not have the ability to make the calls legally.
Okay, we want to get our audience members involved here, and we want to ask because this was the big story last night, and we're asking in a poll that we have on our website. You go to heyjb.live, and this is exactly right here what it's going to look like. Literally, this is what it looks like on your phone. We're asking the poll question, do you believe the Sheriff's Department is withholding evidence and/or information from the FBI? You can vote there in the poll. And then also as well, if you want to submit a comment that goes directly to us in the Stream Center, we call it a VIP comment. And we'll see it populate here, and it'll kind of stick on our screens. We're going to do an interactive Q&A a little bit later on in the program, and comments, they scroll, and sometimes it's really difficult for us to catch your comment while we're doing the live stream here. But if you want it to stick on our screens here in the Stream Center, and we'll absolutely see it, go to heyjb.live. You can vote in the poll or not, totally up to you. And you can submit a VIP comment. There is no sign up required, no gotcha moment. There's nothing like that. We just want you to be able to interact with our stream. I think it'll be interesting, Jennifer, to see whether or not people believe the reports, because the report comes out yesterday, Jennifer, from Brian Enton, that he says that he's speaking to people there on the ground, and there's seemingly this this unknown element as to who is actually calling the shots there, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and then it kind of, it all kind of, unravels from there with the reports that would follow up then about this withholding of evidence or withholding of information. Clearly, there's just friction. Do you think that this is? Let me ask you this question: do you think that this is just frustration boiling over because of how complex this investigation currently is?
I think there is frustration. And look, the FBI came in hot, and Kash Patel said, and there's a clip out there, not just a clip, there's the whole interview. He said, listen, the FBI is in charge. Did you see that clip? That's pretty tough to go in and make those types of assertions when really the Pima County has the legal authority there. So I can see how, again, the top brass and the people at the very top are having, their issues sorting this out. But at the end of the day, I think the boots on the ground people are doing their job.
Who should be in charge, Jennifer? You might be a little bit biased, being formerly of the FBI, of course, but at the same time, this is always an interesting point of conversation. Should it be the local sheriff's department that knows that area well and perhaps better than any other law enforcement agency, or should it be the FBI and all the resources and all the tools that they have at their disposal?
Well, and we had this conversation with Idaho when they had 60 agents. Now you have 100 agents. So clearly the FBI is in charge as to the movements of those agents, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. All of that the FBI is running. And actually, the sheriff specifically said, when it comes to those ransom notes, ask the FBI, they're in charge. So he sort of, delegated that or said the FBI is in charge of all of that. What I wonder, though, is if this is where the rub is, who is really in charge of the investigation related to the actual abduction, not the ransom note piece of it, but the actual abduction. And I think that's where the confusion is coming in and the frustration, as you put it.
Yeah. Where are we in this investigation, Jennifer, in your opinion? What's going on behind the scenes? I'm curious as to what it actually looks like right now and where the priorities are and what the strategy currently looks like.
Well, when you look at the reward going from $50,000 to $100,000, that tells me a lot as an FBI agent, because typically when you know exactly where the investigation is going, when you have persons of interest you're looking at, when you have the answers, you're not asking for answers. And by putting out $100,000, you are literally asking for the public's help. And so that concerns me. It concerns me as to what they really know.
Yeah. Now, as far as they're clearly, I mean, look, increasing the reward, increasing the call for tips, increasing the call for surveillance video. There's also been a lot made as to whether or not there's going to be accessible traffic camera video from around the area and what they actually have at their disposal from a vehicular standpoint. Just how much is this investigation right now relying on the public and relying on tips and relying on just the hope, really the hope that someone will come forward with something that will help break the case?
It's very reliant on the public right now. And this is going to be a moment like in Gabby Petito where the Bethunes, where you just...
That's what I thought of. Yep.
That the van, is recognized by somebody that didn't know anything about the case. They don't watch true crime. They don't watch the news. And then it blips up on their screen. That's why it's critical that you and so many other platforms are getting this information out there. That video needs to be shown over and over and over again, because I guarantee you that somebody knows just how this man walks, how he looks, those eyebrows, the lips, the choice of shopping at Walmart for backpacks, things like that. It's going to stick out to them, and they know. And that's what the FBI is looking for.
I'd like to bring in my team here, Josh Scott and Garrett Phillips. Jennifer, I don't know if you have met Josh or Garrett here as far as our operation in the Stream Center yet. But guys, do you have a question for Jennifer, something that comes to mind while we have her on stream?
Yeah, one of the most compelling parts of this case thus far has been this footage that has gone viral now that we've seen over the last few days. Coming from the FBI in your background, what are the key things that agents are looking for in a video like this? Is there a specific thing that we can take away? We know that this individual is covered well. And so is there we've got a lot of questions about the eyes, right? Are they able to hone in on a certain piece, or is that part of the reason that it is public is because there's really not much we can take away from this yet?
Well, there's a lot to take away from this. One of them, to me, that stuck out is his casualness, the way he saunters up to that porch like he doesn't have a care in the world. He's not worried about getting caught. This is a very comfortable person at this location. Second of all, that holster is very unique. They are working on identifying that holster specifically so they can figure out who might have purchased it, just like they did with the backpack. We pointed out the backpack was very unique. They've already identified that. That mask is also very unique. Those gloves are unique. There's just a lot of very unique items.
Absolutely. You talk about the casualness that is there. In your opinion, is this someone that you think has experience doing something like this? Is this a high-ranking amateur, as we heard the president answer in an interview or when questioned about this? What is your takeaway from seeing this footage?
My takeaway is an amateur.
Okay.
My takeaway is somebody that either is doing this for money that they receive from somebody, and they need money and they know that individual. And so they said, sure, I'll take this job and abduct this 84-year-old woman. But no, this is nobody with military police background, in my opinion.
What makes you say that, Jennifer? What clues, what do you see in the video where you say, all right, this isn't a pro?
A couple of things. First of all, I look at the holster. No
right.
one with training is going to have a holster. There's no thumb break. This is somebody who wants to quickly be able to get that gun out and to, I think, manipulate Nancy in this situation. And so they wanted it very accessible. Secondarily, just the whole makeup of the items he chose to wear. You can still see those eyebrows. You can still see the facial hair above his lip. It didn't conceal him enough. He didn't come there prepared to cover the camera. He starts out with his hand and oh, this isn't enough. I think I need to grab some shrubbery, and puts it up there. This is not a professional, in my opinion.
All right, let's take some comments here, and we're going to exclusively focus on just the VIP while we have Jennifer on stream. We'll get to the YouTube chat, the TikTok chat, the Facebook chat in a little bit. But right now, if you want to submit a question, it's on heyjb.live. Again, no paywall, no sign up required. There's no gotcha moment. You literally just hop over there. You can punch in your comment, and then you can come right back here to the live stream. I stake my reputation on that. We're not trying. It's just for interactivity. So let's go to, let's see here. This comment comes in from Beaky. We'll go to Beaky's comment here saying, I think Pima County have messed up this whole investigation. The FBI needs to be informed of everything. What do you make of this comment, Jennifer?
Well, I certainly agree with her. There's no way to run an investigation unless the people that have the resources and the expertise have the knowledge of the facts that exist. So definitely they have to be working hand in hand. I would like to think that they actually are working hand in hand. But again, some of this reporting certainly has us concerned.
Okay, let's go to this comment from Kathy saying, I believe the sheriff is holding back evidence from the FBI. He actually needs to step back and let the FBI do what they do best. We are already 2 weeks out from Nancy being kidnapped. We need to find her. I'll jump off of this, Jennifer, and ask you about there was the video that surfaced, I believe, of showing the sheriff at a basketball game as well. In the midst of all this, we had a guest on this morning on our morning newscast who made note of that as well to us, and believing that that was a bit peculiar, a bit bizarre. What do you make of that?
Well, I posted that on my X as well. I just said I've never seen anything like that. I mean, he's supposed to be in charge of the investigation, and he's going to a basketball game. Look, definitely law enforcement needs to have things that they do to kind of decompress from days, but this isn't the time. And I can tell you that is extremely unusual. I can't think of one case where the individuals that were involved, and certainly the individuals who were in charge, did anything but eat, sleep, and breathe the case they were on until it was solved.
Okay, let's see. Now, Emily wants to know, again, submitting a VIP comment on heyjb.live. This is exclusively where we're getting our comments from at the moment. Do we know why they haven't cleared the family members? Well, you know what, Jennifer, I'll toss that over to you.
It's a great question. A couple of things. They've cleared the Uber driver. Mm-hmm. They specifically spoke to that. I believe the Carlos down south has been cleared. And of course, that person in the alley, which was totally unrelated, has been cleared. But who they have not cleared are the family members. And that's because, first of all, I don't think they're going to do that until they know unequivocally that they are not involved. And I just don't think they're there yet.
Okay. Garrett, we had talked about this before the stream began, the history between the Sheriff Nanos, is how I believe you pronounce his name, correct? Sheriff Nanos?
Yes.
And the FBI. We have a comment in here specifically about that. I want to bring that up, saying that, here it is, from Rebecca, a VIP comment saying Sheriff doesn't like the FBI because a while back the Sheriff was investigated by the FBI.
Sheriff's Department.
Right. No, department, right, not depth. The Sheriff's Department was investigated by the FBI. What was that report? I believe that we had something up on that as well. Yes,
let me see if I can find the exact report here. But there was a report that there was an investigation to, I believe, funding for the department here, and I'll find it for one moment.
Yeah, Jennifer, do you have any, while he's bringing it up, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. Basically, I believe there was about $500,000 of misappropriated funds from, I believe, 2011. I'm going on my memory to 2016. And certainly Nanos and others were named as possibly being responsible. But ultimately, Nanos was cleared. I believe another person was actually charged in that, but it was a misappropriation of funds. And the Bureau was crawling all over that case, and Nanos was not happy. But it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So another question about Sheriff Nanos here as well. Yes, about the funding itself.
It should be noted too, I believe, if I remember correctly, there has been a report of Nanos coming out and saying that is kind of a bogus report, that there is not something that is affecting his decision making or the decision making of the sheriff's office at the time when it comes to those reports of the withholding of information. And obviously that's what no one would come out and say one way or the other.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
He has a quote. He was asked about it in a Fox interview that I'm reading on Twitter right now. He said, "You Google what you Google, you read what you read. I've got no response. I've always had a good relationship with the FBI. They're a good team. They're good people." Leaving it at that.
Adam with this comment here, Jennifer. Since the crime scene has been contaminated, when they catch this guy, this could help him in his defense. Can you speak to whether or not you believe there's contamination of the crime scene at Nancy Guthrie's house?
It's going to be a problem. There's no doubt. But right now, they're just trying to find Nancy. But there's been 4 searches there. The initial search by local law enforcement, then the FBI came in about 3 days later or so and searched. Then the FBI came back again and did another search of the roof. They took a camera and they took the vehicle of Nancy Guthrie. And then they came back for the 4th search of the septic system. That's problematic. Never had a case in 28 years where we went back. You do it all and you do it the first time. And then, by the way, they left the mat, too, and the Nest camera holder. There were, listen, I do not like to armchair quarterback because it's so hard, the seat that they're all in right now running this case. But there are going to be issues, no doubt, that any good defense attorney is going to raise.
So as far as, I want to be respectful of your time, Jennifer. I told you that I would get you out of here at 1:30.
Yep, 1:30. I have another interview.
And I will let you go just really quickly as you head out. Do you believe Nancy Guthrie is alive?
I think it's improbable, but I always like to hold out a little bit of hope.
All right. Jennifer Coffindaffer, you can find her. Break the Case, right, Jennifer, if you want to just quickly mention.
Yeah, Break the Case with Jen Coffindaffer on all the streaming platforms. And then also you can follow me on X at Coffindaffer FBI. And thank you, JB. We go way back. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Jennifer. Best of luck to you in your interviews today, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.
All righty, everybody. Jennifer Coffindaffer. Yeah, it's been a while since I've talked to her. And we'll continue to get to some comments here in a little bit. Josh, what you got?
Yeah, just speaking on this topic of FBI or Sheriff's Department, President Trump was asked, this is coming from Brian Enton's Twitter, he was asked why the FBI hasn't completely taken over the Guthrie case. His response, quote, "They didn't want to let go of it." So
that's from Trump.
That's from
What Trump said. Yes.
Didn't want to let go of it.
They, speaking of course, Pima
The Sheriff's
County
Department.
Sheriff's.
Okay, right. So interesting. So that hints at a power struggle.
A little bit of a power struggle.
Okay, take it for what it is from the President of the United States. We have also read reports that he's being regularly briefed, so he is getting updates. Obviously, with the nation being so honed in on this particular story, and that's actually something that's come up in our chat a little bit. There's been people who believe that there's too much attention being paid to this story, and I know.
That is something that I was hoping to ask Jennifer, but of course we ran out of time. But about how much more difficult this becomes for investigators, because we've talked about it, right? So many eyes nationally are on this story, so they're getting more tips than maybe you're used to getting. You've got reporters who are, basically flooding the area, trying to find out what is happening, and so it's just a lot of, I don't want to call it distraction, but it is a lot of noise to have to sift through while you're trying to investigate this disappearance.
I'd like to try to get to, let's try to get some more votes in this poll, everybody. For those of you just joining, it's really simple as far as being able to vote in our poll. All you got to do is go to this website, heyjb.live, no gotcha moment. It's just the only way. Let me explain why it's there. It's the only way that we can bring Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube together in one place to vote in a poll and to get comments specifically into the Stream Center from that location. So that there's no paywall, no sign up required. In fact, we throw it up here on screen. Ooh, this way, like that. We throw it up here on screen to quite literally show you a little bit of what it can look like on your device. So that's actually a live look at what it looks like on your mobile device. If you head over there, vote in our poll. And the poll question, guys, we'll bring the poll question back up on screen on the bottom of our screen. We're asking, do you believe the Sheriff's Department is withholding evidence and /or information from the FBI? If we get some more votes in there, we get the vote count up a little bit. It's a one-tap, one-click poll. We'll share the results here in just a minute. Okay, so what's the latest? Where are we right now with the latest reports that have been coming out?
There appears, I don't know if you've seen it, and I'm trying to sift through here because it's a lengthy tweet, but it looks like Matt Finn on Fox did an interview with Sheriff Nanos, and he put out some of the responses he got to those questions. Again, it is long, but
yeah, there is a report from NBC as well about Nanos' speaking today. We kind of mentioned it earlier, and obviously it speaks to our question on the poll about Nanos kind of refuting a little bit the report of friction, saying that whenever evidence comes across his desk, he shares it with the FBI, saying that they have a good relationship, saying that currently they're working with the FBI to test the gloves that were found that were mentioned previously. He also mentioned that they had taken cheek swabs from different individuals that they had come across or had talked to along the way during this investigation. If you're taking cheek swabs, that means you have DNA samples that you're trying to test them against, right? So we had already heard that they had found some forensic evidence inside of the home, or at least around the home. They had talked about the blood out in the front of the porch that you just saw there on the video and how that had belonged to Nancy Guthrie. If they're testing these cheek swabs, that does mean that there is more DNA evidence found on the scene that they are now using to compare against.
Yeah, and this is where I can't help but wonder if it's time for some kind of an update via press conference, and to share with the public where this stands, because it's been a long time since we've had. When was Tuesday? Last press conference?
Yeah,
I think Thursday, I believe. Last Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday and
last Thursday.
Was it really that long ago?
I think it actually was that long ago.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a.
It was the end of
large-
last week for sure.
Kate in a VIP comments, the sheriff, quote unquote, not even close to the truth when asked about withholding evidence. He didn't deny it completely. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, that's a public comment on a very private matter.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting,
I think it would have been more shocking if he had said, "Yeah, we don't get along with those guys," but that's just the reality of it.
this morning, in preparing for the story and listening to things about it, I had heard there was conversation of them having a glove inside the home, and that had been reported in a couple spots. He directly says, we have no glove. We never found a glove on that property. So it's very interesting, and we talked about it, as well in our questions to her there. There's so much being leaked. There's so much coming out. And I wonder if because there's so many people, even just in the search party, right, from two different agencies, how much validity actually comes through when you have that many people there on the scene being asked just an insane amount of questions.
Yeah.
I think, a press conference would help that.
Let's show the results here on screen. Do you believe the Sheriff's Department is withholding evidence and/or information from the FBI? 77% of people believe that the reports are true, that there is a withholding of some elements of the investigation from the FBI. So where there's smoke, there's fire. 77% of our audience believes that is, in fact, yes, the case. So, all right. So where do you think, one thing that we haven't discussed here on this stream so far, and I want to go back to the TMZ video in just a minute, but the description that was put out last night. Suspect, male. Height, 5'9" to 5'10". Build, average. Backpack is black, a 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker pack. The backpack is the big clue. But my goodness, 5'9" to 5'10" with an average build, that's going to be...
Probably most individuals in America.
Yeah.
Especially most men.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm 5'10". And so, yeah, I have legs. People are, we all have legs, by the way. We're always shot here from the waist up in the stream center. But yes, heights. No, you're taller.
Yes, I would not fall into this description. I am 6'4".
Yeah, and you're
Right at 6 feet.
You're 6 feet tall.
I'm right at 6 feet.
All right, we fact check. We have to fact check.
You're welcome to bring in a measurement.
You're taller than I am.
Measure me in the morning.
All right. We're gonna have to fact check that later. But 5'9", 5'10". Yeah, look, that's an extraordinarily common height. Very, very, very common height. All right, let's get to the YouTube chat, the Facebook chat, and I've been told that TikTok is offline. Not sure what happened with our TikTok. Shouldn't have been taken down. Let's bring that up. Yeah, I don't know what happened to TikTok, but we've lost our stream there. In the meantime. All right, so here's how this works. A VIP comment made to heyjb.live, or if you use a hashtag for any one of us. Hashtag heyjosh, hashtag heygarrett, hashtag heyjb. Either one of those we'll bring up here on... Let's go to Facebook. Barbara, hashtag heyjb. Has anyone ever confirmed if her meds were gone?
We had talked about this previously. They had talked about the reason that they suspected initially once they arrived on that scene that this was an abduction and not something where she maybe just wandered off, was because a lot of her personal effects were left behind. I don't remember if medication was mentioned. They mentioned phone, wallet. We kind of learned later that the Apple Watch is part of that. I don't think that medication was directly mentioned in that, but you have to think that the family maybe wouldn't make that kind of plea of, hey, she needs medication, please return our mother, if it weren't, if they didn't think that the medication was taken. And I think that if the medication was taken, maybe this is just my thought process on it, but that might point to somebody who has a little bit more familiarity with Nancy than just somebody who is randomly targeting her.
Pat Skate, a VIP comment saying, I'm going to guess they have their eyes on a suspect and don't want the FBI to swoop in now and take credit. You would hope that this isn't about pumping out your chest and credit. You would hope not. You would hope that this is about finding an 84-year-old woman that was abducted in the middle of the night, and probably something that, also had a struggle because of the trail of blood. You just hope that this isn't about egos. And I would think if you were to ask Nanos, is this about you wanting credit? I think he would have a very visceral reaction and probably an angry reaction.
About 10 minutes ago, I want to just bring this up. Sorry to interrupt. Pima County Sheriff's Department tweeted, "There is no press briefing scheduled today. If any significant development occurs regarding Nancy Guthrie case, media will be notified via email or our X page."
The amount of energy, too, that's going into this and just having high officials on this case answer the question, are you guys working together well? It's just not helpful, and no matter how you look at it. And so regardless, you hope that they just come together and say, let's just put all this aside and go forward in this search here.
I've covered a lot of large-scale investigations in my career in journalism, and I don't remember the discord between. I've always heard of there being some rubbing of elbows between agencies. It's almost standard when you have this much of a pressure cooker situation, when you have this much attention on a case, and you're going to have federal officials, state officials, local officials. It's going to get heated. There's going to be moments where there's going to be some uncomfortable exchanges. However, for it to boil over like this into the public, that I don't remember happening too often. And to Josh's point, is it emblematic of what's actually happening behind the scenes right now? But make no mistake about it, folks. When an investigation has this much attention focused in on it, agencies work together. They work together, and we had Chief Dugan on today, former chief of police here in Tampa, and he was talking a little bit about. It was actually before the show began. We were just kind of talking off Zoom about the Seminole Heights serial killer from I think it was 2018, if I remember correctly, from almost a decade ago. And he was saying, look, the moment that he knew that he had a serial killer on his hand, he was on the phone with the U.S. Marshal's Office, with the FBI. He was trying to bring agencies in to help out, and rather than make it any more difficult than it had to be. So actually, you know what? Let's play that clip. Actually, we don't have that moment, but Chief Dugan, former chief of police with Tampa Police, and I always call him Chief Dugan because I always referred to him as Chief Dugan when he was the TPD chief. He was on our 11 a.m. newscast today, and we had this exchange. Do you think Nancy Guthrie's alive?
So as far as you're always worried that the person doing this is watching the news and getting updates. That's why you're very careful what you say. So yeah, that is a concern. But at the same time, you have to keep the story alive, so to speak. We are a country that has ADD, and they'll move on quickly. So you want to keep that story going. So you do have to be strategic when you're releasing information, that type of thing. As far as her being alive, as the longer this goes on, have somebody in captivity for almost 2 weeks. It's got to be a stressful situation. We don't have all the facts on her medical condition, but the longer this goes, the more worrisome that she is still with us.
That was former chief of police, Chief Dugan. Brian Dugan, excuse me, from the Tampa Police Department. You see, we were talking a little. I'm just going to give some inside baseball to our audience here as well. It can be quite common as well for Friday afternoons to be interesting when it comes to large-scale investigations too, because of the amount of expectations to deliver something before the weekend. You heard Dugan there speaking a little bit about how this country, what did he say? He had like ADD, I believe is how he put it. And there is tremendous public pressure on these law enforcement officials to deliver results. And if you don't have results, you deliver updates to show that you are doing your job and doing everything that you can. And not to mention, we talked about this yesterday, to let the public know that their safety is of the highest importance and that they're doing everything that they can to find who's responsible for this, and that people don't have to be living in fear at the moment. And so, with all of that pressure, could there be a release or, as the afternoon develops, could there be a press conference or impromptu media availability? We don't know, but it sounds as if Garrett right now, they're not going to be doing any large-scale press conferences. Can you imagine the room? The room is for a press conference like that. The amount of cameras, and it would get heated pretty fast.
We were doing the live stream, Josh and I, last week, and on Thursday when that last press conference that they had held was taking place. And I mean, Josh, I don't know if you felt the same way, but to me, it felt a little, I don't want to call it a circus. It seems like a disservice to it, but it felt a little chaotic at times.
It did. Well, they had brought in some form of assistant and said, we're just going to read off names of reporters and give you guys, questions and answers that way. And even in doing so, there were times that he went back and said, hold on, I wanted to make sure you got a follow-up, which is great, but also it can lead to things becoming unorderly once again. And so you would hope that if there is a press conference, they go in with even further of a strategy this time. I don't know that we can really expect that, though.
Well, I mean, this is, again, very rarely. In fact, I think that there's probably maybe you could count on the two hands the number of the sheriff's offices in the country who have had to deal with the case that is getting this type of national attention. It is not common. It is not something that a sheriff is probably used to because, again, outside of the really big areas of the country, your New Yorks, Californias, things like that, this just doesn't get eyes and attention this often. So the fact that this is somebody who is, dealing with media that they have never dealt with before to the degree that they have dealt with before, of course it's going to rattle some people a little bit. Obviously, you hope that they would handle it in a certain manner and a certain professionalism and that they would not allow it to distract them from the case. And I'm not saying that it has distracted anyone from the case, but it certainly doesn't make it easier.
Well, and you kind of put the point right there. In a typical case, even if it's a big local story, you're dealing with reporters asking a ton of questions, but I don't feel like you're dealing with the public as much as you are in this specific scenario. And that's got to add a whole different element here. I'm sure on social media, I'm sure getting emails, comments from everybody, not just in Arizona, but nationwide, things that probably feel like very personal attacks. Are they able to kind of put the blinders on and ignore that? If you've never felt something like that before, I imagine it's very difficult to ignore.
I want to go back to the TMZ video. Let's bring this up for our audience who missed this at the beginning of the stream.
Sure,
because I think this is significant. All right. So, by the way, Rebecca's comment on screen, #KJB, where the hell is Nancy?
I suspect that's the question most people are asking.
Yeah, where
they
is
watch
she?
these.
I think in the last several days, we've been so honed in on the clues. I think, and when I say we, I mean the media. The media has been so honed in on the clues that, again, we're talking about where is she and is she alive? I mean, that's where we are now on day 13 of this investigation, because ultimately this comes down to whether or not Nancy Guthrie is going to be found and whether or not she's going to be found alive or not. And, you're thinking about the Guthrie family right now. You're thinking about what they're going through. Are they getting sleep? These are... Can you imagine waking up to this every day, and if you are getting sleep and this is your reality, it's a nightmare. It's just it's hard to put into words. I'm also, I think of this. I'm asking this to the chat too. I do this all the time when I'm on stream. Is there a poll question that we should be asking the audience at large while we have this cross-platform audience? And we'll see if we're back up.
We are back up on TikTok, yeah.
Okay, great. So hello again on TikTok. We had I was told a server issue between our video server and TikTok, but we are back up on TikTok. Let's get the TikTok comments flooding back into the stream center here. Let's bring those back up and make sure those are flowing back in. And it looks like they are. Yep, there's Heather commenting along with us. So if you guys have a poll question that we want to ask to the audience, because it allows us to, get a feeling as to how people are seeing this story at present, please let us know in the comment section. Or Josh, Garrett, if you guys have an idea as to what we should be asking our comment section next, please let me know.
If we are going over to the TMZ ring footage, I'm sure some questions will arise from that, and we do have that here if we want to spend time there.
All right, so what do you got? So this
Right
is from
here.
for full courtesy, by the way, to TMZ. Now, can I set this up for a second?
Please.
This video has been making the rounds on social media the last 24 hours. It shows an individual making their way to another house in front of another house, and TMZ, this is Ring Doorbell video, TMZ has made the editorial decision, and it's a decision I completely agree with because this is a person that may or may not be associated with this case. They have made the editorial decision to blur the face, even though the video that's making the rounds on X has no blur to it, and we can see the person's face. But for editorial reasons ourselves, we're showing the TMZ version of this video, which does have the blur effect on it. All right, Josh, take it away.
Yeah, so playing it here, again, well, it's very hard to make out what this person, regardless of who they are, is attempting to do here. Bent over looking down, they've got something in their hand, and they come back, then they seem to mess around with the ring, and then it ends there. And that's basically the full clip. It appears like that looks like a collared shirt, something like that. Again, I don't know if they're messing with a plant. It's very, very hard to make out. And
So it's funny you say that because you say messing around with a plant.
Right.
There is a parallel in this with this behavior where this person is looking around for something, just like in the Nancy Guthrie front doorstep video, where you see the person shuffling around and then grabbing the grass, the shrubbery, whatever you want to call it, and holding it up to the camera.
Yeah, and it's so hard because, right here, I don't see a plant. So I don't know exactly what they're looking for in this bottom left-hand corner, whether or not they're adjusting something that they're holding. We don't know why they're there. We have the ring footage, so we presume this is probably not their home, because why would you put out ring footage of yourself? And then messing with the camera here at the end. This is going to be the part, and again, having it blurred here is important, but this is what they're looking for, right?
The face.
The face. Is there a form of, does it seem like there's facial hair here? Very hard to make out. It would be kind of in this area right there, clearly. Again.
It looks to me at this moment when he or they, the individual in this video, is looking back at that camera, it almost looks like he's trying to ring it, doesn't it? Like it's like a video doorbell camera. If you play it just a little bit further back, or rather forward.
Let it roll a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Right here, it looks like he's trying to dial something or hit something.
The finger right there.
Yeah, to me, and this is, again, just speculative, of course, but it looks almost like someone who's got maybe it does look like they're dragging something across the ground. Maybe it's a heavy package or something that they're trying to deliver, and that they're ringing the doorbell to say, hey, I have this. That would be my first thought, and that was my first thought when I saw this video, is that that's what it looks like to me. It's not like they're, unlike the video in front of Nancy Guthrie's house, it doesn't look like they're immediately trying to cover the camera. It looks like they're trying to hit a button, to hit something on it. That is just at least the first thought that I had when I saw this.
Most importantly, TMZ is reporting that they have learned that the investigators are giving this a hard look, is I think how they described it in the TMZ report. So video comes from January 23rd on the Ring Neighbor app, showing the guy intentionally backing up to the front door of a home about 6.5 miles away from where Nancy Guthrie lives. So,
we also, NBC News had the Ring doorbell camera founder on today, and they talked to them about, the Nest camera footage that was found, obviously, and released in the Nancy Guthrie home, but talked about, how this type of thing they've seen, Ring apparently has seen kind of a flood of individuals who are using systems. The Ring cameras have a system where they can use basically a neighbor's app that alerts or allows them to alert law enforcement officials by uploading videos like this, and that they've seen a flood of this type of video being submitted as it pertains to this case. And they say that that's something that is common in Ring systems when these types of cases are involved, are coming up, and there have camera video involved. They also mentioned that you can save Ring doorbell cameras up to 180 days is how long the videos can go back for. That its standard default is 30 days, but it could go quite farther than that. So, just imagine how much video people have that they might be thinking, oh, this could be it. This might be it. And now they're just kind of flooding these neighbor apps and these reporter apps where they can report these types of videos and this type of footage.
Bridget, they are looking around the house. Elaine says, "Hey JB, just want to say this is heartbreaking and I can't imagine what our family is going through. We're keeping Nancy and her family in our prayers here in the UK." Yeah, we've gotten a lot of UK viewers on our streams in the past, and so not surprised that we've got some folks joining us from the UK on our stream. By the way, our streams right now, as far as we're going to really lean into questions and comments, it's only with one of two ways: www.heyjb.live, or using our hashtag system, which you see it all around the screen. Hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh, or hashtag HeyGarrett. The rest of you guys can comment back and forth, and we won't pluck your comment. It's only if they follow one of those two criteria, because some people don't want their name and their comment on the live stream. But if you want it on the live stream, I just gave you the instructions on exactly how to do so.
You gotta imagine anyone with a Ring camera or a Nest camera in this specific time range in the Tucson area, if they're seeing someone that they don't recognize that has a goatee or facial hair, probably on high alert to send it in. I mean, and that's a question here, and you can assume, basically, you can kind of see it from the blur in that area that there is some sort of level of facial hair. Again, that video circulating online also, provides as there's facial hair there, and we're showing the blurred one for obvious reasons, but
that's something we talked about yesterday, and that I wish we'd had a little bit more time with Jennifer to talk about, because she mentioned facial hair, and yesterday we had kind of gone frame by frame and dissected, is it facial hair, is it a second mask underneath there? She seemed fairly confident that it was.
Ben saying, what is the time frame of the new TMZ video? I just had that. That was, I'll repeat it. It is, another TMZ ad. I just had it, and I believe it was January. Let me bring it back up.
I want to say 28th, maybe.
It is January 23rd.
23rd.
About 6.5 miles away. But there was another comment from another VIP comment, Mike Romero. TMZ getting more tips, notes, video than the local PD? No chance. Zero chance of this. The only difference is that TMZ is going to actually publish the tips that they get, the most credible ones, I'm sure. There's been, I think, 13,000 plus tips submitted to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. That was the last number that I had seen, and it's no doubt inflated way beyond that point. It's just that the sheriff's office isn't, they're not content creators. They don't live off of clicks. No, it's just that it's TMZ. That's what they do. Let's go to some other VIP comments while I'm actually in that queue. And I don't see any. Oh, wait, here's. No, not seeing. Okay. In the meantime,
I have to wonder, just from us here, in the chat too, do you think when you watch this video, you're looking at the same person?
Is that the question then?
Maybe that's the poll question, because I don't know. To me, Garrett, you point out, well, this looks like this person is intentionally trying to ring this doorbell here. Clearly the intent is not the same between the two videos.
Of course.
But I can't help but wonder, why is this person here? You assume they're not supposed to be here, but this might just be a moment of confusion if this person does turn, hits the doorbell.
I mean, they're hunched over here. They're fiddling with something down there, right? Whether it be a package or something that they're pulling up, or for all we know, it could be a lost dog that they're trying to return to an owner, that they're, bending over to try and keep on a leash or something. We don't know what it is off of that side there, but it does to me look like when they turn around that they are intentionally trying to ring the doorbell. They are intentionally trying to get whoever's home this is, trying to get their attention. So that's just my initial thought on it. It certainly has a different vibe and a different feel than what you obviously see in the Nest camera in front of Nancy Guthrie's house. I'm not convinced that it's the same person.
Yeah, and I certainly, we can get to a moment here where we do a side-by-side of the two videos. If people would be interested in that, it'd be very easy to throw together. It is just
They also, I mean, well, it could be because of clothing, could be a couple of different reasons, but they also look a little slighter, like a little more slight than
this
the other
slimmer.
individual. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what somebody else said. There's this clear height difference. Now, height's difficult to tell, but build
On a video, yeah, but the build looks much lankier. Maybe is the right word to say. Maybe taller. You know, normally taller people are a little bit more slim and lanky.
All right. So up now on our website, heyjb.live. This is what it will look like. Do you think this new Ring doorbell camera video has any connection to Nancy Guthrie? We have three options on this one. Yes, no, or unsure / haven't seen it. And I want to be clear, the reason that we're asking this poll here on our website and not on YouTube or on Facebook or on TikTok is because it gives us one unified place to bring everybody together. We can't ask, I don't even think, does TikTok allow us to do polls in the chat? I don't think so. There's no polling feature on TikTok.
I'll take a look. There actually might be.
And I think Facebook used to have built-in polling to live streams, but I believe that they got rid of that feature.
Certainly
YouTube
not in the
certainly
efficiency,
does, but no paywall, no sign up, nothing. Like, test it and tell me if I'm crazy. You just literally go over to the website. You can just vote in the poll. You can leave a VIP comment if you'd like, if you want us to see something, and you can come right back here to YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're watching on right now, the WFLA app, whatever it may be. That's how this works, folks. Just one centralized location. And we'll bring up now the poll question here on the bottom of the screen and show it to you, and then we'll monitor the vote counter. It'd be great to get to 100 votes. Maybe we can, get to triple digits, but the more votes we get, the more accurate of a response we're getting. So we'll see. All right, what are we looking at? Josh, we're looking at your screen, right?
This is just on loop, that original video. I'm working on maybe bringing these up side by side, if we think that's a good idea. Let me see if I can pull this one in. Again, important to note this other one coming from the Twitter of TMZ.
Yeah, let's make sure we continue to emphasize that.
Yeah, my question, JB, when it said the day, did we have
a timestamp?
A timestamp. Do we know when? I assume this is at night, maybe early into the morning as well. I'd be curious too.
5 a.m.
Interesting.
5 a.m. Feels like that kind of rules out something like a package being delivered. That seems kind of early.
I don't know, man. Amazon, I've had Amazon like...
But would an Amazon delivery driver ring your doorbell at 5 a.m.?
While holding their...
No, but we don't. Up. Did he ring the doorbell though?
I mean, we don't know for sure. It does look like it to me in that video.
Yeah.
But we don't know that for sure. But it does look like they're reaching back to press a button or to dial something to me anyway.
Because the Ring doorbell is motion activated, right?
Yes, it starts to record once you do so.
Right.
But there are buttons on Ring doorbells so that you can ring the doorbell, if you will. The motion part is to record, right? The motion is a recording of the video and to send a push notification to your phone. But most of them, to my knowledge, do have a button that would actually ring a physical bell inside the home.
Apologies here as I get up these side by side.
Will there ever be a doorbell without a button?
Probably already is.
Maybe there is. A doorbell where you just show up and your presence is announced.
I think that is actually how the Ring works natively out of the box. Is it just chimes your phone if there's motion?
The button is just a secondary option, a secondary input.
The motion starts a call from the Ring.
It's how like they had.
Right, but the purpose of a door? Look, maybe I'm a little bit old school here. The purpose of a doorbell: you arrive, you press a button, and then a chime goes off in your house to alert the people that are home that you're there. Now, I get it that these days it's an alert sent to your phone, but
the chime would go off your phone.
It chimes on your phone as a ring.
It's like a doorbell, yes.
That's you get a notification on your phone, and it sometimes comes with audio.
No, guys, okay, I'm not that much of a boomer. Okay, I understand that. What I don't understand is if there's a setting where you walk up to somebody's house, you don't press the button, and a chime goes off inside that isn't a phone, like the actual doorbell system in your house.
Just to play devil's advocate here, how many houses actually have a doorbell system built in? Mine doesn't.
Yours does? Like a traditional doorbell?
Yes.
Maybe that's the poll question. Who has a traditional doorbell anymore? Yeah. No, I have an old school doorbell. It's got a button and you press it and then a chime goes off. And I might be, in a lot of ways, people think, oh, this, JB with the Stream Center and it's very high tech and blah, 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 blah. But in a lot of ways, when I am home, I appreciate being low tech and having a doorbell that is just old school. I don't know. Maybe one day I have an old school doorbell.
All right, we're almost there.
So in the meantime, as Josh is preparing this side by side, let's go back to the comment section. But you know what? We got to get to VIP comments first, as promised.
One thing I'm not sure if we mentioned it yet today, but just before, as you're pulling these comments up, it is raining in Tucson for the first time since the investigation started, which certainly is not going to make anything easier in terms of canvassing the area there.
A VIP comment to heyjb.live. To me, it looks like in the new doorbell video, the person saw an animal on the ground outside and was ringing the doorbell to try to get back inside. And we talked about snakes,
lost dog,
right?
or something like that.
Snakes?
Or snakes. But I mean, to me, it does look like, just to go back to that comment too, that it really does look like someone's dog got out early in the morning and this person saw it, and because they're bent over, they're holding onto something. It looks like they might be holding onto like a dog collar, and that's why they're bending backwards and trying to turn, like to reach and hit the doorbell to say, hey, I found your dog. It could be a neighbor who found their dog, though maybe not, because you would think that whoever sent in the Ring camera footage would know the individual if it was a neighbor type of situation.
It's just tough because, again, and I'm going to put it up here, but you kind of get a look into that corner where he bends, and I don't see any movement.
Real quick, Gwen says, how do we vote in the poll? It's on heyjb.live in a browser. Go to any web browser on your phone, heyjb.live. And I'm sorry for people that I keep repeating this, but we have a revolving door audience where people will come, they'll go, and so they don't get the instructions. And again, no sign up, no gotcha moment, no paywall, or I can't stand that stuff. We try to make it as easy for you as possible to vote in our polls and to submit comments. So somebody says rain has stopped in Tucson for now, for what it's worth.
That's good to know.
Okay.
On TikTok, a hashtag Hey Josh comment from Jenny saying position of the hand is cupped, not flat, to cover the camera. Kind of odd. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about in this video, right?
I think so.
Video, yeah.
We had talked about that with Jennifer as well, about how it was not professional is the best way to put it. How it was sloppy is maybe the right word. Where, yeah, you would think that somebody who does something like this on the regular, if you will, would have a quicker response time and would not go pull up a plant to try and cover up video, which very clearly you've already been captured on. I mean, that's the strange part about it, is you would think that there's better ways, more efficient ways to go about hiding yourself on camera.
Okay.
I'm going to read this again. I'm going to read this entire thing from Matt Finn. I think you referenced this earlier, Josh, but Matt Finn on X saying, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos tells me the sheriff's office has been using the same private lab for decades. They started sending evidence to that lab, including family DNA swabs, and it doesn't make sense to start sending other evidence to Quantico. Nanos is praising the FBI and its lab, but says it's as simple as sending the same evidence to the same place. Okay. Interesting. All right, what do you got, Josh?
So this is, again, you're going to, on the right side, pretty clearly it's just a black scene to start, because you're going to get the TMZ watermark. This right here, right? This is the footage, kind of side by side. You know, two very different things going on in this footage. but actually interesting here. These are both people bent over, okay? And one has the backpack, one doesn't. But even these are all things that are important to note because how one carries themselves during any action is probably going to be consistent regardless of the time that they're doing that action, right? If I'm a person who, I don't know, ties my shoes and I have a certain cadence that I do that cadence is not really going to change. If I'm bending over to look for something, it's probably going to be a very, very similar way in which I do that regardless of if I'm wearing a backpack or not. And so this is what investigators are going to be looking at, as they take a deep dive into, is this person the same person? That's the question here. Do you think this is the same person, the same cadence? Is this similar enough to give you, the thought process of, okay, maybe we do have a potential, person of interest coming from this ring footage that this is coming from TMZ or not? And again, these two just loop.
I mean, I'm not surprised that TMZ reached out to a source and they said, yeah, we're looking at it. Because, if they said, no, we're not looking at it, I think that's pretty alarming.
Even the stature here, right? We talk about height comparisons. And you want to be very careful when you throw around a term like that when comparing these footage because the Ring camera and the Nest camera, they're two different types of cameras, two different types of lens. They're going to bend the scene differently. But again, just, the eye test, right?
You can even see on the Ring camera, especially what looks like more of a fisheye type of look than what you're seeing from the Nest camera, which certainly can distort things.
Let's also talk about the pool cleaning crew that has showed up at the house. So apparently a Pima County Sheriff's deputy brought the pool cleaning service into the backyard. And I'm unsure of how I feel about it. Because there's just so much that we don't know. Mm-hmm. What's your read on that, you guys?
So they brought a pool, just to make sure I heard you correctly.
Routine pool cleaning.
They're clean. Why would you? To me, my first.
You know what? We assume it's a routine pool cleaning.
Why would I don't know, while an investigation is still ongoing, why any sort of cleaning would be being done.
This is the kind of thing that goes back to, there was a press conference, I think it was on.
Why is that important, right? Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. Why
is the cleanliness of the pool important over what could be, what letting them into the scene could do? Yeah. There were two press conferences last week that we covered. There was one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. The one on Thursday was the one we've been talking about a lot. But on Tuesday, they had talked about, I think Sheriff Nanos had said on Tuesday that they had given the scene back over to the family, right? That they had basically gotten everything they need to get from the scene and that they were done with it. The next day, we saw live shots from aerial footage that showed FBI agents and Pima County deputies back on scene. And so there was questions about, did they take the scene back? Are they treating it as a scene again? Because in that in that brief time between when they announced that the family was given the scene back and then when we saw them kind of back on scene doing their investigation, that is when the reporters were able to get the footage of the blood on the porch. They were able to get up to the front door, and it seemed like everything kind of shifted, right? There's also been, earlier this week, there was a moment where a pizza delivery driver was delivering pizza to media on scene at one point. So there was questions. There was questions about how the perimeter of the actual investigative scene was maybe being a little too loose or wasn't maybe far enough away from the home. This is kind of pointing right back to that of just bringing in pool cleaners now to do work in the backyard. It's almost like, allowing like gardeners to come in and cut the grass. Like that's kind of a crazy thing to think about for what should be still a fairly active scene.
Do we think this is like, every 3 weeks these pool cleaners come? Is that the type of question that, we think is being asked here? And then they show up and say, oh, we're scheduled to clean the pool. And they're like, oh, well, we're not doing anything. You can come clean the pool. Like
6 is the aerial.
If so.
Right. Drone video. Let's go to it. This is live.
Maybe we see the cleaning happen from this drone?
No, I think
There's a perimeter that.
I think that's the pool cleaning is done,
Oh.
to my knowledge. All right, so a new drone has gone up, and this is a live image.
Yeah, I mean, you can see there, we just talked about the perimeter of this space. And I mean, what is that? Like a football field's worth of distance between the front door and where all of the media seem to be set up? It seems rather close to me.
It's close.
What, you mean sideline to sideline?
Maybe. I mean, I was thinking, yeah.
I don't think it's the entire length of
No.
Yeah, again.
I mean, if you're still,
but with that length, to this point of people being able to go, and I know it's probably now because it's happened so many times, the ability to go up to the front door with this, like it's not it's a short distance for the media, but it's not that short of a walk as far as, a driveway to the front door is to have someone be able to stop that.
But you would think that, like, if I were investigating this, right, and you had talked about how they were searching through the foothills and searching for things that might have been discarded on the side of the road, I mean, I would think that, I mean, I'm sure that they already have searched this area specifically. It just feels strange to have this type of a setup that close to a crime scene for, that's what it is.
I think we have another shot as well, right?
We do. I believe that second one is I think it's Annie Guthrie's home. I think it's a live shot outside that home. Let me double check for that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that that's what that is. Let me double check.
All right. In the meantime, I'm going to come back to here. Nope. Wrong one. Switching sources. Doing it live. Do it live. Someone gets that reference.
What's your
a lot of
immediate
media
reaction?
A lot of media, but not surprised that there's a lot of media.
But I mean, and it was earlier on in this that we had so many questions about why isn't there footage that seems helpful from the neighbors? I feel like this picture right here might answer a little bit of that question, right? It's the next building over is not super, super close, certainly not in a way that you would think maybe a camera from a neighbor would be helpful, especially, again, when you keep in mind that Nest camera would not be able to capture the majority of the media members here because it's not like it was out on that brick outside there. No, it's within that little overpass. I'm struggling for the exact word, but that entryway there. So it's not exactly like the field of vision that would come from a camera of a house designed like this would give you that road. And that was one of the big questions. Is there a vehicle captured on camera? You would have to really have a camera positioned the right way, and you're not going to get that from the Nest camera in the entryway.
Yeah, no. The archway is obstructive.
Yeah.
And so, but, what's interesting, what's good about having this shot up is that if there's any activity on this, if we see deputies arrive, or a pool cleaning service,
Right.
We'll be able to see it. Now they're moving the drone around a little bit.
Looks like there's it appears to be a sheriff's car in the driveway there.
Mm-hmm. And now another vehicle pulling up. But I mean, a vast majority of the vehicles here are media. Now, one thing we always forget about, man, the neighbors here probably getting really tired of seeing all the media out here, but that's just the reality of the situation right now. And the whole goal, the whole hope is to finding Nancy Guthrie alive.
Yeah, I had read someone had taken a comment from a neighbor who seemed a little frustrated by the president saying if there was a fire, would a fire truck be able to get through right now? Like, what would the plan for that be? And so I imagine they're definitely feeling the presence at this point if they weren't already, now on what, day 13 of this?
Mm-hmm. Let's close the poll so that we can move on from the Ring doorbell camera video that TMZ says is being looked at by investigators. We asked on heyjb.live, do you think this new Ring doorbell camera video, the one that we were showing earlier, the one that TMZ put out with a blur, do you think this new Ring doorbell camera video has any connection to Nancy Guthrie? And we'll close the poll at 70 votes. And look at that. 62% of people believe the answer is no, that it is not connected. So for what it's worth, there's how our audience is feeling about that latest wrinkle in this story.
You could see the pool a little bit better from this viewpoint.
Yep, it's clean. Okay, so it's Annie's house, right, on this next source.
Currently is Nancy Guthrie's home.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put your mic down. Say that again.
Yeah, this current video right here, this is Nancy Guthrie's home, but the other video that we showed, that shot from the street view, that is Annie Guthrie's home right here. That is the home where Nancy had dinner the night before she disappeared.
Do we know if anyone is currently here at Annie's house?
I'm not aware whether there are people here currently. I do know that they were, a couple of days ago, there were investigators there investigating the home, but obviously that was was probably looking for, retracing her steps that night. We don't know if there's any connection other than that, but
yeah,
we're gonna stay. What we're looking at.
We're gonna stay with the drone shot just because we don't know how long this drone is going to be in the air. So, we'll ask the chat, any other observations about the house or any other questions, you can use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyGarrett, hashtag HeyJosh to ask your question right now. We're going to close
I feel
VIP
like I remember, and maybe it's just because of the sun is out and it's maybe more reflective. Is that the color of the roof? Is that the same color? I feel like I remember it being darker than that in previous videos, but it could just be reflective.
Maybe a darker, like white or gray, but I was
just wondering if, I don't think that it's a tarp or anything, but I was wondering because they had talked about a camera on the roof that they had removed. I'd wondered if they had maybe gone up there and put something over the roof, or if it's just reflective, which is very possible. It seems like it's very bright outside over there.
Michelle, one of our great YouTube moderators, thank you to all our mods, by the way, in the YouTube chat, submitted a comment. Let's see if I can bring it up on screen. There it is.
Oh,
one more time, Michelle. I got you. All right, here we go. Hey, JB. Hey, Garrett. My greatest question at the moment is why haven't there been any ground searches made by the community where neighbors advised against that? It's odd that we haven't seen one. One thing that we did have earlier, Michelle, was there was an area where people were gathering flowers. Right before the live stream began, that shot went away. But there was an area where a little... I don't want to use the word memorial.
No, I saw a report earlier, they are yellow flowers, and that yellow was a color that was meant to symbolize hope. So we would assume it's a hope that Nancy would be found. But yes, we did see that earlier today.
Yeah, and so, but why there haven't been ground searches? I don't want to say that there haven't been community-based search efforts, but to the scale, Michelle, that we have seen in the past where people gather themselves, I don't know. That is an interesting point.
I wonder with a ground search, if that is part of that, just off of the top of my head, right? When a ground search is occurring, it's normally because somebody you would think is lost, right? Mm-hmm.
This is an abduction.
This is an abduction, exactly. You're not going to find, theoretically speaking, hopefully speaking, you're not going to find Nancy Guthrie alone in the woods somewhere.
No,
right?
But you could find clues to, if something sinister happened to her, you could find something.
That is true. But at the same time, if you're a large community walking around that area, you could also be leaving behind and muddying the clues that might be there, right? If you're leaving footprints behind, if you take a snack out and you drop a wrapper somewhere and now all of a sudden they think that might be part of it. I would imagine that because they're looking for evidence of a person's activity in that area, you don't want to make more activity that might make it harder for the investigators to actually find what they're looking for. This isn't the same as just, somebody disappearing to the woods one day and not returning, and now you're trying to find them because you think they're lost.
It's an interesting point. Susan, am I hearing things correctly? Pool cleaners are really there to clean her pool? That this isn't the FBI or Pima investigating? Yes. No. A pool cleaning service came by and a deputy escorted them to the back, as we understand it. Yes. Per multiple reports.
Is it that hard to say, no, we're not going to clean the pool right now? I mean, from the deputy, I don't know. I
do wonder, too. I mean, we talk about the pool thing a lot here. And we talked about the media and how close that they are kind of allowed to be in that perimeter there. We had talked about with Jennifer as well earlier that it's unusual to go back to a scene multiple times, right? That you normally go in and get what you need and then they leave. Obviously, they've gone in multiple times, but maybe the idea is now that they've gathered whatever they might have gathered inside the home, whether it be DNA evidence, whether it not be any items they might have taken out, maybe it has been turned back over to the family, and now maybe they're not treating it as an active scene to investigate. They feel like they've got everything, and so maybe the family said, hey, let's get the pool clean. Let's try and go back to being as normal as you can be right now. Mm-hmm. Because, the last thing that you want to do if you're the Guthrie family is to, and it's not something that you're going to be able to do, but you want to have some semblance of normalcy as you're going through this, especially because it's so prolonged. And so maybe that's part of the normalcy that they're trying to reintroduce. And so that could have been part of it as well.
But at the same time,
it's certainly a weird look.
Yeah. And the pool's for leisure. I don't know how many members of the Guthrie family are thinking, man, I really need to get in my pool right now. Everybody has their own way in this world. Everyone has their own way of dealing with.
It could also be something where the cleaners come by every couple weeks and it's a procedure and no one canceled it. Yeah. No one in the family thought to, because of course, why would you think that right now? And maybe they showed up and the sheriff's office thought, hey, we're not currently investigating anything in the house. Why? There's no reason for us to turn them away. Could be another part of it.
Real quickly here in the Stream Center with Josh Scott, Garrett Phillips, I'm JB Biunno. On this screen right here, we are now only taking hashtag-based comments for the foreseeable future. We'll stay with you live with the drone shot, but if you are trying to get your comment on screen, it's only with hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyGarrett, or hashtag HeyJosh. If you don't want your comment to be featured on our live stream, all you got to do is just not use one of those hashtags. And believe me, we won't see it. Let's see.
To me, it just, I keep having this thought, and this is probably just, it's Arizona. And I know it's not exactly open because of, the shrubbery and bushes around there, but it's not exactly like the entire property is fenced in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I can't tell you from this shot where the property starts and where it ends. Well, it starts at the street, clearly, but
I'm curious how far back it goes. I feel like a lot of the assumption has been,
there is what looks like a clear fence around her back porch there. You can kind of see it.
The pool.
Right above the pool. And you can see it, too, if you look, to the right of the pool in that extra space there does seem to be another wall or a fence in that back
right, but
area.
9 times out of 10, that's not the property line. And a lot of times there's local laws about, your pool must be fenced in. It's just intriguing. Is that part of the driveway on the right going,
it
towards
seems
the
like
back area?
Yes, it's hard to tell.
To Jam's comment, and I've given, well, look, here's the thing. This is not about my opinion. This is about providing context to a story. Garrett, Josh, and I, we get asked on what we think quite a bit about Nancy, about what the current situation of the case is. It's really the whole purpose of this live stream is to give a platform to your comments, not really, and your thoughts, not necessarily our thoughts. I'm just gonna say that I'm just hopeful that Nancy is found alive. That's with that said, my hopes, just like everybody else, My hopes are they take a bit of a hit each and every day that this goes on. The fact that we're on day 13 right now is very concerning. But this is all about a platform. The whole hashtag HeyJB thing is a platform to give everybody else in the comment section a voice. I think it's fair to say that we have, plenty of context provided here on stream. So this is about you guys here in the chat. And with that said, let's go back to the chat. And in the meantime, we'll take this live full. All right. Yeah. I think that's counts. Saying, can you give a quick summary of the new events today? What are the events today? It's all a blur over the last 36 hours. We had the new description come out.
Right. So what we know as of today, day 13, the FBI provided new details about the suspect seen in the Nest doorbell videos that were released on the porch of Nancy Guthrie's home the morning that she disappeared. The individual was described as a male, 5'9" to 5'10", with an average build, said he was wearing a black 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker pack. The FBI has also increased the reward for information leading to an arrest or conviction. It was $50,000 yesterday when we last spoke to you. It is now $100,000. They doubled the reward. The agency also said it has fielded, as you mentioned, more than 13,000 tips from the public since the 1st of February when Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, went missing. There was a search in the foothills, the Catalina foothills, the neighborhood of Guthrie's home. They recovered several items, including gloves that had been submitted for DNA testing. And, of course, there was also the reports of friction, if you will, between the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, reports about who was in charge, whether there was evidence being withheld from the FBI, and reports such as that. That is a fair, I think, approximation of the latest that we have heard. The last thing that we received in terms of new news is that the Pima County Sheriff's Office will not be holding a press conference today. There is nothing scheduled for today, barring any significant developments occurring in the Nancy Guthrie case.
And did we think they may or may not be doing one-on-one press interviews because that tweet was edited, or just hard to tell if it was just an accidental
Cannot conclusion? I will say that the responses to that tweet from Pima County regarding the no press briefing are not very kind. Just put it that way.
Denise says, at this point, many of us are just hurting over this. God only knows how the family is feeling. That's where my mind goes also.
Yeah.
I mean, this scenario by itself would do unimaginable things to the mind and to the family. But then as it's happening, for it seemed the consensus talking points to shift from the actual investigation, but now a significant portion of it being whether or not the FBI and the Sheriff's Department are doing this without, going back and forth, being bumpy. That also has to be so frustrating from that position too.
Oh, you mentioned frustrating. I wonder, a lot of the times when something doesn't go smoothly, whether it be an investigation or something less serious, whether it's something in your life when something doesn't go smoothly, frustration is normally one of the first emotions that kind of shows up. And so I think that I wonder how much of these frustrations and reports of frustrations are coming out because they haven't really made a lot of progress. I mean, it's been 13 days. There certainly was a bigger break in the case earlier this week with the video Nest video release. But since then, they have at least 2 different individuals they have detained and spoken to and then released and cleared from, this profile that they have created. There's now a third that we know they're trying to talk to based on that TMZ video. But there is not necessarily an indication there that is going to necessarily prove any more fruitful. We know that there's been an arrest on a fraudulent type of ransom note case where somebody was trying to take advantage of the situation. So there's just, despite the fact that the videos come out, not as much progress as I think people were expecting. People were probably seeing that video and thinking, oh, then they might have somebody in custody tomorrow. And that hasn't really happened. And so when that happens, there's bound to be frustration on every side of things, and you just have to try and hope that it's not going to cloud the rest of this.
Angie says, hey, JB, at what point do they say enough is enough as far as allowing so many people on and around an active crime scene? Seems a little ridiculous at this point. Yeah. When we had Jennifer Coffindaffer on the stream a little bit earlier on, she seemed flabbergasted over just what has happened to the crime scene here. I
do wonder, and we know, again, last week that they mentioned that they had turned the scene back over to the family, and then it seemed like they had kind of gone back on that. They had recanted on that and taken the scene back over. The way that they have this, line of reporters and media set up, the way that they're allowing pool crew cleaners to apparently come onto the property, I have to wonder if they're treating it like an active crime scene anymore, or if they're just, again, having just turned it back over to the family.
It's a fair point. User, I'm not even, that number ain't making it. Hey, JB, can we talk about how this has received massive media attention with minor breaks in the case? I think that's all we talk about. I
mean, obviously, a lot of that goes back to who Nancy's daughter is, which is a person, Savannah Guthrie, who is known to pretty much everyone in the nation. And
but at the same time, though, let's take Savannah Guthrie out of it. If I think this case is still getting not as much attention, but this case is still getting a lot of attention if you just take Savannah Guthrie out of it. And I say that just because abductions of women in their 80s in the middle of the night like this are so extremely rare. And so it would be one of those, I think, big local stories to, Tucson, Arizona. Would it be receiving this level of national and international attention? No doubt. There
Certainly
wouldn't be,
not this quickly.
But it would no doubt be getting significant media attention. Take it as somebody who's worked in the industry for a long time and worked a lot of big cases, okay? If this removes Savannah Guthrie out of it, this is still a big story. Is it craziness like this? No. But it's still one that's really
It also might take
enormous.
more time to be a story. I mean, how many times have missing person cases like this that have broken through taken a little bit longer to kind of catch fire on a national level? Whereas, this story, we basically knew the next day because the Today Show basically opens with it. And so, yeah, you're right. Take Savannah out of it. Obviously, it's still a big story, but it has definitely been magnified because of her connection.
Well, and she was expected to be in Rome this entire time.
And this happened during the Olympics, where Savannah and the rest of the Today Show team was expected to be.
Chelsea wants to know, do you draw any similarities to this and the Petito case? I think they're very different. Just the big one with the Petito case, you had Brian return home and people demanding answers from Brian Laundrie. And then, of course, Brian was discovered to not be in the laundry home in Northport, Florida. This is a middle of the night abduction of an 84-year-old woman. So, Chelsea, I appreciate you asking. I think that the media attention is certainly similar. And we are talking about a missing persons case, ultimately, even though one, Gabby was missing in the wilderness, really. And Nancy here was clearly the victim of an abduction or worse. But they're very different cases to me. And I think the biggest and the closest parallel is just just wild amount of media attention being poured into the case. Alicia saying, is there proof she got home after dinner? Was she seen on the camera either pulling into the driveway or walking through the door? I don't know if there's been camera footage, but there was confirmation that she did make it back to the home. She was dropped off here, correct?
Yes, there was in that timeline that we had mentioned, the garage door opened and closed within a couple of minutes of each other around the time that she was dropped off. And then, of course, hours later is when the Nest camera footage was captured in front of her porch, in front of her front door.
Donna, we've talked a lot about how this guy walks. Yeah, I know for myself, having one leg 3/4 of an inch shorter, there is a specific way that you walk. This guy has that kind of walk. That's an interesting observation. But yes, no, I believe it was in one of the law enforcement alerts or one of the law enforcement reports that came out that said, I mean, pay attention to his gait, his mannerisms. That can be the difference. When you have a masked individual, you have to pay attention to some of the smaller details to try to figure out who that person is. Oh, here's the drone. Whoa.
Looks like it might be going to land to charge.
That's what I think as well. Oh, my. But we're getting a good look at the street.
If you're
And
curious
how
what the
far those
neighborhood looked
cars
like,
are down. I mean, cars lining the streets, what looks like a good distance away.
Yeah, this is clearly being positioned to land right now.
Correct, yeah. And there it goes.
And down we go.
We do still have the shot of Annie Guthrie's home, if we'd like to use it.
And just make sure we get safely down. And yes. Right? Yep. Hello, Mr. Drone Operator. You're on live stream for a lot of people. A lot of people. And yes, we are down and down safely. Okay. Live.
This is outside of Annie Guthrie's home. This is the home where Nancy was having dinner the night before.
Yeah, I'd like to see this camera move around a little bit. And just to see what the media attention is like on this street. And
it has been a bit static. I mean, it's been static since we've seen it this morning, first pop up. So I doubt we'll get too much movement.
The only reason we know it's live is because you can see the wind.
Well, and this is also
blowing in the shrubbery here.
Correct. Yeah.
This is one of those areas that, you know, as Garrett, you mentioned earlier, investigators have been to and from quite a bit. And so, you know, you assume it's probably one of the points for the family in which they engage with the investigation, whether it be they get updates, they talk to them.
Well, we do also know that earlier it was reported that this was a home that was also searched.
Right.
Not necessarily because they believe anyone inside of it committed this, but because this is where Nancy was, only 5 or so hours before her abduction? I mean, of course they're going to search the area and hope for something that is indicative of what might have happened.
I mean, at this point, you assume if they have a crumb or they think they have even a hint at any spot and they have the ability to search it, they're going to.
I'm continuing to look for updates, but there just has not been too much today as of this moment.
And I'm reading comments here from folks on social media. This is a big one. Hey, JB, do you think the abductor has something to do with the family of Nancy? Look, the wide assumption is that this is a targeted incident pertaining to a high-profile host with NBC. But let's just remind our audience, it's just that. It's an assumption. And anyone claiming that this abduction occurred because Savannah Guthrie is Savannah Guthrie, I mean, that we don't know that. That is just this wide prevailing assumption. And so until we're told otherwise as to a motive, we have to treat this as what it appears to be. A home invasion and abduction in the middle of the night in Tucson, Arizona, involving an 84-year-old victim who just so happens to be the victim, the daughter of one of the most well-known co-hosts in America. What makes this case interesting to me is that you get this report in the opening couple of days. We always point to, right? We point to those first 48 hours as being critical to a case. And we have this case that when it first, becomes this massive breaking news story, it produces a couple of notes that are sent to investigators. And according to sources that spoke to the Los Angeles Times, and I believe others, that there was specific information in these, if you want to call them a ransom note, that had details about the crime that was not released to the public. And then there hasn't been any additional word of any ransom or any additional notes received specifically with the FBI containing that level of information since. So there was this smoking gun, if you will, at the beginning. And now we haven't heard too much from that since. We of course, have had all these other... We had the person detained. We had the person talking to TMZ demanding Bitcoin. There's been these other threads, but nothing as significant as that initial thread. And, of course, the video is the biggest piece of evidence. But as far as communications with law enforcement, that one's pretty big because of the source telling the LA Times that there was protected information that only somebody who committed the crime would have, that was in that back and forth with law enforcement.
Well, this is also the same people that the Guthrie family reached out to and said that they were willing to pay their demands for proof that their mother was still alive. And if I remember correctly, JB or Josh, please feel free to correct me, but I believe that the report was that there had not been any activity because that original message, the seemingly credible ransom message, had also demanded for Bitcoin, wanted payment in Bitcoin of some kind.
Well, there was the first message that you just referred to, and they put out, the we will pay. Then we got apparently a second message that I believe TMZ said was from the same, had the same exact Bitcoin request
account,
link,
yeah.
right? Same routing info. That appeared to be a response to the first message, in an acknowledgement of the two deadlines. And then we got what then appeared to be a follow-up from their social media that we understand, and then the willingness to pay. The first one was proof of life. Second one, we understand. Please return our mother so we can celebrate. We are willing to pay. A message that, well, now a few days ago and has kind of been overshadowed by everything that's happened since. A lot of people talked about how was this message scripted? Was the FBI involved? You assume the language is very intentional, and we're not quite sure if there was any more interaction from, the ransom senders or the note senders end. If there was a response there or not, we assume because TMZ has told us everything that they've gotten every time they've gotten it, that if they did send it again to the media, we would know. But since, again, that 5 p.m. deadline, the final deadline, which was this Monday, this week, we haven't gotten anything on that end.
And that's also, I think, a part of this that is more concerning is that for all intents and purposes, it seemed like the Guthrie family was willing to meet a demand, right? Was willing to pay something. And then since that moment, investigators, FBI, Pima County sheriffs, they've said they have no indication that there was any more communication after that moment. And that so the family seemingly publicly said, we will pay this. And then now nothing.
Right.
So you would think if you were serious about a ransom for Nancy, that if you have the people you are trying to ransom saying we will do it, you would think you'd reach out again. You would think you would say, all right, here's how you do it. But from what we know, all indications are that has not happened. And I think that's probably the most concerning part of it is because of that radio silence.
I'm trying to pull up the transcript from that second video because it was tonally very different from the first. it almost, at least to me, felt more direct. I don't know if you guys felt different. The first one, that I was able to find, we need to know without a doubt she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you. We are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. And then a direct message to Nancy Guthrie. The second one tonally was less, almost less emotional. Let me see if I can find it.
Again, we're looking at a live look right now at Annie Guthrie's home.
I don't know what that press conference is there. I'm looking at that. It's not obviously.
One moment.
What do you see there? Is that a sports press conference?
Auburndale Police.
Oh, yeah, local.
You know what? I'm just going to listen to it.
Yeah, there has been no comments regarding a press conference from Pima County on their X page, which is where they said they would send out notifications to the media. That last update that they had stated that there wouldn't be no press briefing scheduled for today was about an hour ago. And that really is the last bit of information that we have gotten in terms of new information, if you will, which is not to say a lot in this case as of today.
So I'm seeing some videos of the pool cleaning service, and it looks extremely routine.
Right. Well, we'd get that comment earlier about, pool cleaning services coming once a week. And so that's what it seems like to me, is that this was a timeline. Maybe it's once every 2 weeks for Nancy. And it seems like they just showed up to do the job they would normally do.
So that second message I was able to pull up and just listen to because I couldn't find a direct transcript. And it is, again, totally different. We received your message. We understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so we can celebrate. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay. So, again, you got three. Basically, if you view this as like a communication, the first message, the first ransom note, then the message put out saying, if you have her, please send her home. And then you get some sort of response, which is, again, that second note that was sent into TMZ and apparently had the same Bitcoin address. To then the Guthrie family putting out 5 days ago, we received your message, we understand. Very direct. That's not talking to the public there. That's talking to that ransom note, right? And then begging to return our mother to us so we can celebrate, and then saying we will pay to do this. We don't know if this implies that they feel they got the proof of life that they were asking for in the first public social media posting, but from a tone standpoint, it is very different. It's certainly at least more direct to that person. It implies that there's some sort of dialogue. At least they read that message. And you're right, Garrett, to your point. After that, Nothing. It was the 5 p.m. deadline. It came and went, and we don't know. We assume, actually, because with Bitcoin, you could see if money is transferred into a wallet.
Right.
Sure.
TMZ saying they haven't seen any money transferred into any of the wallets that we looked at. And that would probably be public information, just given what they've said thus far.
Patty here, no press conference in many, many days. It's been 8 days. Last Thursday was the last time.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Last Thursday was the last time that Pima County Sheriff's officials and the FBI spoke to the media through a press conference. Obviously, they have individually spoken to media. I think we've seen Sheriff Nanos has spoken to some media on one-on-ones, but the last time they had a press conference was 8 days ago, last Thursday.
Do you think either of these departments wants to do a press conference and the other doesn't? Do you think there's an element of that at all here, where maybe the FBI would do a press conference just to clear everything up?
The FBI never wants to do press conferences. No. The FBI They are.
Well, it's not their job to do press conferences. It's their job to solve cases. And so that's what they're focused on.
Yeah. I've never met an FBI, and I've only ever really talked with people regarding the FBI who have left the FBI, retired or moved on to other jobs after being with the FBI. And it's always, that's just not what they're about.
Initially,
they're not about the media, the press. They only do that if it is completely procedural to give an update.
Initially, when they were doing press conferences that first week, right, they did a press conference every other day. Basically, every 2 days they did a press conference. And Sheriff Nanos was doing them without the FBI president first. And it was kind of, I don't want to say it was his directive, but he was the face of it, saying, we're going to do a press conference every 2 days. And then we get to that Thursday press conference where the FBI agents have a bigger role and they are more structured and they're taking the questions one by one. And that's the last time we heard from them. After that moment, they said, we're not going to have another press conference until we have something to share. So I wonder if the FBI stepped in and said, hey, let's not do that. Let's focus on what is important, which is finding Nancy. That would, to me, that's what that reads like based on what we know.
That would assume that they're being on the same page, though, and the reports are to the contrary. The reports are that they're not seeing eye to eye with strategy. But again, for what it's worth, Jennifer Coffindaffer believes that those reports are being blown out of proportion, which they very well might be. But to Josh's point from earlier, this is clearly boiled over. I don't remember too many cases where the agencies involved were not getting along to the point where it was spilling out over into the media. That's relatively unique. What?
Even the president commenting on it.
Right. Pretty unique to this case. Sebastian saying, hey, JB, do you think if the Bitcoin is never sent, will they just disappear? No Nancy, no suspect, cold. I'm entirely sure that is part of the thinking here that wait, I'm sorry. Do you think if the Bitcoin is never sent, will they just disappear? No, I mean, I don't know.
Even if it is sent,
I think that
I think that's what I read this as. If the Bitcoin is sent, they could just disappear, and I think that's part of the thinking here. There needs to be proof of life.
Right. I think that there's, with this case, because we have that Nest camera video, I'm not sure that it's going to be, a disappear type of situation. I think that they have enough, and we've talked about this, they have some DNA evidence that they're testing. They have that camera footage. They're obviously actively talking to individuals. It seems like every day they're talking to somebody new. I'm not sure that this case is simply going to disappear.
Well, that's assuming, though, that the gloves that they found are the gloves from this case. And
I'm not even talking about the gloves, but that is a good point. I was talking more about the fact that if they're
JB, you talking about they need proof of life.
We do have that drone footage back up, by the way. G9.
We need proof of life. It's hard, you don't want to speculate too much about what happened in that second message that was sent from the person sending the ransom note, but it was at least enough for the family to then respond to it in a different way. And that second response doesn't ask for a proof of life again. And so that's one of, and it's kind of falling away, but that's one of the more curious pieces to me, is that there was a response seemingly to that first note. At least it didn't validate that they got a proof of life. But
yeah, and we don't know what communication is happening between the family and law enforcement, between family and this alleged person who has information, or is the, the abductor. There's so much going on behind the scenes, folks, that we do not know. And we have to just remember that there's the quantity of unknown elements here to this story is enormous.
Even things we think we know can flip and
sure.
I mean, that's what happened with the press conferences. Is you thought you had.
We're here reading tea leaves.
Yeah.
With this particular case, and a lot of that is because of a lack of updates from the Pima County Sheriff's Office or Department. And so, look, somebody just pulled up in front of Annie Guthrie's house. What's this? Could just be a curious observer, somebody driving by and saying, hey, that's Annie Guthrie's house, and then rolling down the window, rolling it back up, and then just driving on.
Could also be a pizza delivery, and I'm not even, at this point, like that's...
Wouldn't be the first time we've heard that for this story.
Right. As we have the drone here up again over the Guthrie home in Tucson, Arizona. Katie saying, why is it taking so long to test DNA? We don't know it's taking that long. They could very well have preliminary results by now.
Right.
They're not going to announce it to the world.
You have to also remember, too, we know that they tested DNA of the blood on the porch and that it came back as Nancy's because they had Nancy's DNA available to them. Obviously, they had the house accessible. If they found foreign DNA in that house that does not match Nancy's, that doesn't necessarily mean that the FBI has the DNA sample match. They might not have, if this is, let's say that there's something inside the house that is a DNA sample of the subject. There is no guarantee that that person has a record, that person has ever been tested for DNA for the FBI. They don't know that they have a match for that, which is why they're swabbing cheeks, which is why they're going around trying to find out if they can possibly find a match. So they might have DNA test results. They just might not have a match to go with them. Well, and that might be what they're looking for.
And forgive me, I was jotting down a note as you began. Did you mention that they might even be sending these out to 2 laboratories?
Mm-hmm.
That's true too.
So there was. I read a report that the implication was once they get back, I think it was a glove that was sent to a Florida facility. The FBI wants to then send it to their headquarters as well to do further testing. And so now shipping is somewhat quick nowadays. They're going to expedite it, but it's still extra time that adds to go into testing this DNA. It's not just the length of to test, it's moving this evidence around the country.
It's not just like a movie or an episode of, CSI where they can just take it to a lab back on the set and have results within an episode. It's not how that works.
Beautiful here says, I think the amount of attention it would get if it wasn't Savannah's mom depends on if ransom notes are real or not. If they are all scams like the one, I think it's because of her celebrity. Or if they're all they're all scams like this one, I think it's because of her celebrity.
So yeah, we do know that there have been some imposters that have been maybe sending ransom notes. One individual that we spoke earlier about, and I'm sure I have the name here somewhere, but they were detained and are now charged, with sending out a ransom that was trying to, as the FBI put it, profit off of a grieving family. This is the tweet from earlier from FBI Phoenix, that they will continue to hold any individual accountable who seeks to interfere with an investigation or attempts to profit from a grieving family. Derek Kalela, a 42-year-old from Hawthorne, California, who was allegedly did send ransom demands via text messages and even spoke on the phone with what the FBI said is a missing persons family. We take it to mean that this is, of course, the Guthries, but they don't necessarily say that in the tweet post on social media.
And again, there was at least something in that first note that they got that made them treat it with a little bit of validity. Yeah, and they didn't confirm that it was valid, but there was something about the crime scene, and we don't exactly know what. There was some conjecture about whether or not it was the placement of the Apple Watch, something around there. We don't know exactly what was in the note, and the note has been published, but there was something enough for, again, what you got in that first message was, the family putting out something that was dialogue towards the person who sent that note. And so that's the part to me here. And again, we have, Garrett, you mentioned radio silence since that last note where, that emphasized that Monday deadline, and we passed it, and there hasn't been anything.
Really quickly, Coyote says, JB, oh my God, you're still around. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, but we absolutely miss you when you're not live on YouTube. Very, very, very. There's been a few comments like this today, and I just want to say I'm very, very, very appreciative of these comments. And thanks to the guys here in the Stream Center with me today, Josh and Garrett. we hope to be doing more live streaming like this. We haven't been on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. We haven't done as much of that work in the last year or so, Garrett, but we know that we are going to be doing a lot more of it in the months ahead. So we are doing it for clearly a story where people are seeking a lot of updates, but we hope to be doing a lot more live streaming on these platforms in the future. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate it.
See somebody walking there on the street in this live shot.
It could just be a member of the media, no?
Probably.
This is a question for an expert, but Krista Hall says, "Hey JB, do you like the
Probably think. Do you think the police?
Yeah, do you think the police really didn't do their job right at the beginning with blocking off the house and the crime scene? Would things be different? Only the investigators and really the forensic experts and the lead detectives know. But
There's certainly been a lot of scrutiny from outside of the investigation, from retired officials, from members of the media, saying that it was an abnormal, at best, handling of the case, at least at the beginning. Not sure that that's necessarily our place to comment on it, but that's what the chatter has been, if you put it that way.
Well, again, and we had that conversation with Jennifer Coffindaffer, and she did say it was very interesting to her how many times they went back to the scene. So typically you go and you spend however much time you need there, and you collect everything. It's not you go and then you leave, and you go, then you leave, then you go, and then you leave. So whatever conclusions you can draw from a comment like that and how the scenario has happened, it's definitely not nothing, at least to me.
So as a quick reset, folks, we're here live with the home of Nancy Guthrie, seen via drone video that is currently in the air above where all the media have been stationed across the street from the home. This is now a bit of quiet that we have hit. There's no doubt that we've hit a section of the day where things are. Usually there's a slow trickle of information, right?
The last update that we got was from the Pima County Sheriff's Department, saying 2 hours ago, roughly, that there was no scheduled press conference today.
Yeah.
And that's the last bit that we've gotten. So, will they have another press conference? Wendy asks. As of right now, there is nothing scheduled, and they are saying that they are only going to reach back out to the media to schedule something like that if significant developments occur regarding the Nancy Guthrie case. That is what they posted on social media at around 1:30 today Eastern time. That's the time here in Tampa. Looks like the drone is about to land again here.
Yeah, I wonder if that was, they're thinking the same thing. Things have been abnormally quiet, so let's conserve drone battery for when we do have something significant going on, because clearly they come back to land. I'm now seeing, you just missed it as that transition play, but there was somebody walking in front of this camera shot. We are likely going to take a step away from the microphones here to catch our breath here, folks. With the story itself hitting a bit of a lull, we're just going to take a moment and gather ourselves as we await next developments and figure out exactly what resources we are going to have for the afternoon hours. In the meantime, what we're going to try to do is stay live on YouTube and give everybody a place to chat back and forth. And I'll tell you that with Facebook Live and TikTok Live, we will relaunch streams here. I think actually we might be down off of TikTok now. But bottom line is that we will be back on these platforms live should there be new developments in the case. YouTube, we'll stay live. We'll keep the chat open. And we'll come back on the mics pretty quickly if something new develops. In the meantime, we'll stay live with the shot that we do have. This is live outside of Annie Guthrie's home. Latest details on WFLA.com. We will be back with updates as they occur here from the Stream Center.